Living in my apartment complex, my skepticism about the supernatural was unshakable until one night. It began subtly, almost too faint to take seriously. Coming home late one evening, the air in the hallway felt inexplicably cold, sending a shiver down my spine. That's when I caught a glimpse of something. A shadowy figure flitting across the corridor before vanishing into thin air. I tried to dismiss it as my weary mind playing tricks, yet the image lingered, unsettling and persistent. In the days that followed, strange occurrences began to unfold with unnerving regularity. It started with the whispers. Initially, they were mere breaths, drifting through the silence of the night. But gradually, the whispers grew clearer, forming words that seemed to echo from the very walls. Leave, go, mine. Their insistent tones sent chills through me, a message that couldn't be ignored. One night marked a turning point. I woke suddenly to the sound of footsteps, a heavy, deliberate tread in the living room. The clock's glow showed 3:07 a.m., a mocking beacon in the darkness. With heart pounding, I crept out of bed, only to find an empty room. Yet there was a disturbing sign. A cherished family photo lay face down on the floor, as if intentionally turned over. The days that followed were a series of bewildering events. Books would tumble off shelves without a breeze or presence, kitchen utensils found in odd places, and doors creaking open unbidden in the stillness of night. One evening, as I sat reading, the room temperature plummeted, and my breath turned to mist, an icy manifestation that defied logic. Then the electronic disturbances began. The TV would turn on by itself, flickering through channels at a frenetic pace. My phone would ring with static-filled calls from unknown numbers. Even the lights began to flicker and dim without cause, as if an unseen hand played with the very essence of my home. The culmination of these hauntings was one unforgettable night. I awoke, paralyzed, to find the dark figure at the foot of my bed. It was more than a shadow now, a formless, dense entity that seemed to absorb the faint light around it, standing silent, just watching. When I blinked, it vanished like smoke. That was the last straw. I couldn't dismiss it any longer, couldn't shake the feeling of an ominous presence in my home. I left the apartment soon after, unable to shake the feeling of being watched, haunted by an entity I couldn't understand. The experience has left me questioning everything I thought I knew about the world we live in, a world where unseen forces sometimes breach the veil of our reality, leaving us unsettled and forever changed. I still vividly remember the ghost story from my childhood, a haunting experience that has lingered in my mind for years. When I was about 9 or 10 years old, my family and I lived in a small, quaint house. It was an old structure with creaking floorboards and a musty smell that seemed to cling to every corner. The house had just one bedroom, which I shared with my siblings. One night, something happened that I'll never forget. I was asleep in the room, nestled under the covers, when I was suddenly awakened. It was as if something had nudged me out of my slumber. The room was dark, lit only by the faint glow of the moonlight seeping through the curtains. That's when I heard it, my name being called. At first, it was a calm, almost melodic repetition of Emily, Emily, Emily. But there was no warmth in it, only a chilling monotony that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Terrified, I climbed out of bed and tiptoed out of the room. The house was eerily quiet, and the only sound was the soft calling of my name echoing in my ears. I made my way to the bathroom, trying to shake off the feeling of dread. The voice seemed to follow me, a constant, unnerving presence. I splashed water on my face, hoping it was just my imagination running wild. When I returned to the room, the calling resumed, relentless and unyielding. Unable to bear it any longer, I fled to the living room where my parents were asleep on the couch. The comfort of their presence eased my fear momentarily, and I curled up on the floor, hoping to find some peace. However, my mother woke up and, seeing me there, told me to go back to the room. I tried to explain, to tell her about the voice calling my name, but she dismissed it as a dream and urged me to return to bed. With a heavy heart and trembling legs, I walked back into the bedroom. As soon as I stepped in, the voice started again, more insistent this time. "Emily, Emily, Emily!" It got louder and more desperate with each call. I sat on the bed, tears streaming down my face, feeling helpless and terrified. The voice seemed to be everywhere, filling the room with its eerie call. In my fear, I did the only thing I could think of. I prayed. I closed my eyes, clasped my hands together, and prayed for the voice to stop, for peace to return. Miraculously, as I uttered my prayers, the voice began to fade, eventually disappearing altogether. Exhausted and emotionally drained, I finally fell asleep. Weeks after this terrifying incident, I overheard a conversation between my mother and aunt. They were discussing the house's history, revealing that it had once been the site of a tragic death. Chills ran down my spine as I listened, realizing that what I had experienced might have been more than just a child's imagination. That experience in the small, one-bedroom house has stayed with me, a haunting reminder of the night I heard my name called by an unseen presence, a voice from beyond that left me questioning the reality of the world we live in. The events of that night still send shivers down my spine. Let me set the scene a bit. The town where this happened has a rich history, particularly with the Civil War. It's peppered with places rumored to be haunted, but the one spot I never expected to encounter anything supernatural was the local park. It all started innocuously enough. One evening earlier this year, a few friends and I were hanging out at my place. We'd watched some movies and were playing a card game when the conversation turned to local legends. One friend brought up this park, sharing their eerie experiences there. Intrigued and with nothing better to do, we all agreed to venture out after the game to see if these stories held any truth. It was around 1:45 a.m. when we wrapped up the card game. The boredom of the late hour was palpable, so the idea of visiting the park resurfaced. Driven by curiosity and a desire to break the monotony, we piled into a car and headed to the park, oddly located next to a funeral home. Upon arriving, one friend's nerves got the best of them, and they opted to stay in the car. Undeterred, the rest of us ventured into the park. The park itself had a haunting vibe, especially at night. It was equipped with 4 sets of swings that bordered a dense, shadowy, wooded area, 2 sets of seesaws near a stairway descending the hill, and a merry-go-round positioned eerily in the center of all the playground equipment. To the right, there was a small basketball court, and to the left, a desolate baseball field. Over the hill, near the field, stood 2 ancient, dilapidated buildings that added to the park's creepy ambience. There were also a couple of slides, but they were the least of our concerns that night. As my friend and I wandered near the baseball field, we were oblivious to what was unfolding. Unbeknownst to us at the time, as we snapped photos around the park, one picture captured a vague humanoid figure. The real terror began when our friend, who had stayed in the car, suddenly burst out, yelling frantically for us to run back. They had seen a long, black, shadowy figure following us, a presence we were completely unaware of. Panicked, we raced back to the car. As we fled, I noticed something chilling on the first swing set to the left. One swing was moving by itself, despite the still night air. The sight was unnerving, to say the least. We hurried back to my house, trying to shake off the fear and unease that clung to us. Back home, we reviewed the photos and discussed what had happened. My friend, usually composed, turned pale whenever they recounted seeing the shadowy figure. It was a chilling reminder that some things are beyond explanation. I haven't dared to return to that park since that night. The thought of encountering something paranormal, potentially malevolent, is too much to bear. That experience at the park, a place I once viewed as mundane, has left me with an unshakable feeling that some places, especially those steeped in history, harbor secrets and shadows that are best left undisturbed. you've ever brushed against the unknown, felt the chill of the unexplained, or encountered the shadows that walk among us, I invite you to share your experiences in the comments below. Your stories are not just tales. They are affirmations that we are not alone in our encounters with the paranormal. Remember to like and subscribe for more journeys into the heart of mystery. Hit the notification bell. It's your gateway to new chilling stories, each unfolding the unknown corners of our world. Every like, every share, and every comment shapes our community, drawing us together in our quest to explore the unexplained. And as you navigate through the complexities of your daily life, remember this encounter. Let it be a gentle reminder to be wary of the paths you choose at night, of the shadows that linger just beyond the reach of light. There's a world that exists parallel to ours, one that breathes and watches in silence, occasionally crossing into our realm in ways we can barely comprehend. So, the next time you find yourself alone on a deserted street, in an empty parking lot, or walking a dimly lit road, pause for a moment. Listen to the whispers of the night, feel the subtle shift in the air, and remember, our world is a tapestry of stories, some visible, some hidden in the shadows. It's in these shadows that our tales of the paranormal find their home. Stay curious, stay brave, and most importantly, stay connected with us here at TheWitnessed Horror. Until our next eerie tale, keep your eyes open and your mind questioning. Who knows what mysteries will unravel next?